Hello and welcome back. If this is your first time here and you want to not only outwit the competition but perplex up your Heroclix IQ, make sure to Hulk smash that subscribe button and also the bell notification so that you can be sure to see my Heroclix videos as they become available. Today we are doing a live stream because I had a rather late day at work, and there's also some exciting news with ROCtober just happening this past weekend, and a lot going on in the general Heroclix meta game that I think some people would be interested in, and I really like this live stream format. I'm not going to move to it all the time, but I do think that it's something fun to do that's a little different. So if you guys have any questions about anything we talk about, go ahead and put it in the live chat, and I'll try to switch back and forth between what I'm seeing in the live chat so that we can get to that. And then, so what we're going to talk about today is we're going to start off with me talking about, just my general outlook on Heroclix competitive play, like what it takes to be a competitive Heroclix player. Then we're going to talk about the top 8 teams from the this past ROC World Cup. And then after that, I'm going to talk about, the state of the metagame and, maybe a couple builds that I think, given what showed up at ROCtober, that you could expect to see at the upcoming WizKids Opens. So let's go ahead and we're going to talk about just my opinions generalized on Heroclix competitive play. I think that, it's important to talk about, there's a difference between Heroclix Meta and Heroclix competitive play. Heroclix competitive play is like ROC World Cup, WizKids Opens, Nationals, Heroclix Worlds, things like that. Heroclix Meta is actually something that everybody does. As soon as you do anything in the game that you wouldn't have done previously based on something your opponent did or has on their field, that's meta. So if you have Outwit on your team and an opposing figure has Power Cosmic or Quintessence, and you were going to outwit something but you're not now because they have Quintessence, that's meta. So it's important to know, and then competitive meta is the game within the game of competitive Heroclix. So just so that we're all clear on what I'm talking about and what's going on here. So as far as what it takes to do competitive Heroclix, first you have to do a little bit of research, like we're going to do today, where we're talking about, we're researching the top 8 teams that showed up at this last ROC World Cup, because that is, to the best of my knowledge, the first major tournament that has come up since the drop of the Mighty Thor Heroclix set. So it was important to see for sure what was going to be on that. We all sort of assumed uni-mind was going to be in there, but it's all hearsay and conjecture until it actually happens. So that's important to do your research ahead of time. And then the next thing that's important is, you get your team built with, based on, you can either, what's called net decking, which is, where you look online, you see a team that did well and you basically just copy it because that's what you saw. I don't like doing that. It's, you can do it, and some people have done it with really good success. Sometimes if I'm looking at something online, like it might spur a thought, like, I really like that team, but here is what I would do with it to, sort of make it my own style. Because, if I take a net deck team and, it's not my style, I'm not necessarily going to think about how to use particular nuances with that team. So I'm not going to run it really as effective as I could. So you're going to do that. And then, and then there's also, just looking at the figures that you have and thinking, okay, well, this is what I'm going to see. This is what is good against that, like these are the powers you need. So what figures do that? Then you're going to take that pool and you're going to look at your particular play style, see what fits into that. And then once you get your team, this is the next part that is probably the most important out of anything, is practice. Excuse me, guys. And this is the thing where a lot of people, including myself, kind of mess up because I don't, have a lot of time to necessarily practice as much as I want to. But this is important. And how much practice you need is up to each individual person. But personally, I believe that you have to practice to the point where you are bored when you're playing your Heroclix team. You know your team so well inside and out that by the time the competition gets there, you're bored with it. You've seen the other teams that you're probably gonna see, at least 24 times before, and you're bored with those teams. But when you're bored with it, that means that you definitely know what's going on. You know, in pretty much every scenario, what it is that you're gonna have to do against each particular team, and that's basically it. Is you play it till you're bored. It sounds stupid, it sounds obvious, but a lot of people really struggle with that particular thing. So that's basically my thoughts on meta. Is you look at the teams, you come up with your team whatever way works for you. Then once you get it put together, you practice it until you're bored with it, and then you go and hopefully you do good, and the dice gods smile upon you and don't, smite your ruin upon the mountain. So the next thing we're going to talk about is the ROC teams, the top 8 teams. And the only place I was able to find a list of these is Majestix ccg.com. So it's majestixccg.com. And you'll find the link to this in the description of this video, so you can just go there after this video is over and click on it and look at it for yourself. But anyway, the top 8 players had 6 of them had very similar teams, and then there was one Jakeem team and one team that was really different. So the first team, we'll go ahead in reverse order. We'll start at number 8. And this is Kyle Cootie's team, and it was 165 point uni-mind. So it's uni-mind with 3 blue flame tokens, and no real surprise with which Eternals were picked. It was Mariki, the Speedster, Thena, and Cersei. Those are the ones pretty much everybody knew was going to get picked. Fast Force's Jean Grey at, she only has 50 points. 30-point Haha Joker, Boxing Ring, Freya Object, Mirror of Missilin. I don't know. It's Enchantress's Mirror, Symbiote, and 35-point Justice League Teleporter with an assortment of cards that go with that. So basically, you have Jean Grey for your TK, Haha Joker to be annoying and soak up damage. Uni-mind's also extremely hard to take down, and he soaks up damage. So he's kind of trying to time out the game while dealing damage. And then Uni-mind's able to just call in figures to do most of the heavy lifting. His one call-in is the Mighty Thor Hulk at 145. I think that one has Battle Fury, so it's probably on there specifically for some of the figures we're going to see in this list. But other than that, this stuff was all, pretty, what I was going to consider pretty standard. The only thing about this top 8 is there were a lot less Jakeem Thunders than I thought they were going to be. So, number 7 was Dustin Cedars. He had a Justice Society theme team. So, let's give it up for Justin for having a theme team. He had Jakeem Thunder, 3 Joker's Wild Green Lanterns, a Henry, an Invisible Jet, Justice League Teleporter with an assortment of cards, and that's what he had. So obviously he's burying with the Green Lanterns until he can get Jakeem where he needs to go. A little surprised with this one that he didn't have Jakeem Possessed. He didn't have Supreme Intelligence. So he didn't have all the foo-for-ah that Jakeem normally has. But it's a pretty good little team, and obviously he did, he got 7th place, so knows what he's doing. Number 6 is Kenny Pena, which is a name you should know. His team was the most different out of anybody's team that was there. He had Mistress Death from Deadpool and X-Force, 75-point Loki, plus God of Trickery, 40-point Raven from the Wonder Woman set, 15-point Skyscraper Wonder Woman, 2 Carnage Colossal Retaliators, a Boxing Ring, Mjolnir, and a 35-point Justice League Teleporter. And since this was ROC Limited, he was able to use the Black Panther ID card. And he was using the Black Panther Super Rare from Avengers Defenders War. And apparently what he was doing was trading out the Loki, the 75-point Loki, for the Black Panther, keeping the God of Trickery, like clone type thing, and then mass spawning tokens with Black Panther, and then Mistress Death doubling damage and things like that. It was a good team and a good idea. It didn't have enough oomph to get over the juggernaut that is uni-mind with all those stat buffs and stuff like that. But this is a good team, and Kenny he normally comes up with some pretty different teams. So it was nice to see somebody in the top 8 with something that it wasn't Jakeem and it wasn't uni-mind. A lot of people have been talking about Mistress Death, but it was nice to see somebody finally pulled it off and did a good job with it. At 5th place is Isaac. He is somebody that a lot of people should know. He won this, was it last year or 2 years ago? But anyway, he won, and he is very young, so good for him. Hopefully we'll be seeing him winning a bunch of things for a long while. But he had Uni-mind plus 3 Eternals plus Supreme Intelligence, and he had the same 3 Eternals as the Blue Flames. Nighthawk Prime, 25-point Mercury, 10-point Carnage, 20 points worth of ID cards, and that's it. And you'll see from here on out, Uni-mind and Nighthawk Prime are a very common and potent combination right this second in Heroclix Meta, because competitive meta, because Uni-mind can give himself with 3 Eternals. He gets 2 plus 2 or minus 2 perplexes. Nighthawk Prime says that an opposing team can't increase their combat values, so now you're giving yourself plus 2 to defense, and they can't, your opponent can't increase their anything to try to get to you. Plus Nighthawk has Outwit, so if an opposing Uni-mind is able to do something with their perplexes, then it gives him an opportunity to outwit something that Uni-mind is using. So, and then 25-point Mercury, TK's, he's there to TK him out for an Alpha Strike. Carnage is just an awesome retaliator. In 4th place is Adam Friedman. He had a Uni-mind with 3 Eternals, Nighthawk Prime, Joker Wild Green Lantern, 5-point Boxer Ring, Hulkbuster Torso, 35-point Justice League Teleporter, and that's pretty much it. And pretty much everybody, I think, on their Teleporter had at least one Shield level 7 ID card, which they used for Nick Fury. They had a Green Arrow ID card for the Green Arrow Chase, and then a lot of them had a second Shield level 7 ID card for a Chase Hawkeye from Avengers Defenders War, and then either a Nightwing or a Spider-Man ID card for the Nightwing with the Zuko token, or Cosmic Spider-Man. So again, another good team trying to give yourself stat buffs while denying your opponent. And the Boxing Ring also works towards the stat buffs and denying your opponent's stat buffs. 3rd place is Lane Miller, and as you can see, we're seeing a lot of familiar faces in these. He had a 177-point Uni-mind, which is 3 Eternals plus Supreme Intelligence, Nighthawk Prime, the Atom, Carnage, Boxing Ring, Symbiotes, 20 points worth of ID cards. Pretty much the same thing, and it's legit whenever you start seeing everybody running the exact same thing. And, that's not on them. If it's good, obviously you're going to run it if you're interested in trying to win. So, there's that, and I think the Atom was a particularly good choice for a Colossal Retaliator because he ignores shape change, so he's going to be able to damage those Nighthawks, hopefully. Number 2, second place was Easton Brock. He had a 165 point uni-mind. So uni-mind plus 3 Eternals, and it's the same 3 Eternals as everybody else used. Nighthawk Prime, 2 Carnages at Colossal Retaliation, 5 point Boxing Ring, Hulkbuster Torso, 35 point Justice League Teleporter. The only real thing he had different here was Firestorm, LE, and ID card, and that's it. He has a Superman ID card with the Boxing Ring Superman. So. And the winner was Daniel Powell, a Heroclix content creator. So it's nice to see, that some of the people that talk about this stuff actually win. He ran Uni-mind with 3 Eternals and Supreme Intelligence, 165 point Nighthawk, 65 point Nighthawk Prime. It's been a long day, guys. 15 point The Atom, Colossal Retaliator Carnage, 5 point Boxing Ring, Symbiote, and 20 points worth of ID cards. Same Eternals as everybody else. Same ID cards pretty much as everybody else. And that is it. So my thoughts on this are that uni-mind is who we thought he was. He's really good. That pick a power where you can pick at the beginning of your turn and the beginning of your opponent's turn is just really potent. And then you throw in the +2 to 2 different stats, the +2, 2 +2 perplexes is just really powerful. On top of that, plus he has Power Cosmic. He has that stop click on his last click. And then if you manage to get through all that, he's popping out 2 or 3 Eternals. It looked like everybody agreed with what I said in my WizKids Open video, where 3 Eternals was going to be the way to go. Because once you pop all those 3 out, your opponent's not very likely to get all 3, and you have to, as it's set up right now, KO all 3 of the Eternals that pop out to get the points for Uni-mind. And then you can also use those Eternals, since they count as their printed point value. They work really good, or at least how I'm going to use them, is try to save my ID cards until after Uni-mind goes down, at which point, hopefully, if I've done everything right, either A, won't be at all, or B, will be late game, and then I have some really potent call-in guys to clean up whatever it is that's going on. So overall, I think the metagame, the competitive metagame is at a point where it could be stale, but I don't think it's going to be. And once we get into some of the team builds that I think you're going to see that are going to counter Uni-mind, I think you're going to see more Jakeem Thunder. You're going to see this team I'm going to talk about. You're going to see Uni-mind. And it's going to be more of sort of like rock, paper, scissors. It's whatever team you bring. It beats one team, but not necessarily the other team. And it's just, it falls to whatever your matchup happens to be. Which is, I kind of like that a little bit more. So we'll see. Plus, we have Harley Quinn and the Gotham City Girls coming out next month. So we have no idea. As far as I know, we haven't had any previews for that. There could be a silver bullet, like that's a common in there or something, and then you'll never hear from Uni-mind again. So that's it. There's been some talk about Jakeem Thunder, being overshadowed by Uni-mind, which is, it is possible, and some people were worried that Jakeem wasn't going to win the big show because he got outshined by Goblin King before he got errated, and then it looks like he's going to get outshined by Uni-mind, and then he's just never going to show up in anything as a winner for like the big ones like the ROC World Cup or Heroclix Worlds. I think that's a possibility, but I think they are going to do something about Uni-mind if he wins a majority of the WizKids Opens. And if he does retire and he doesn't win, I do think that you're going to see a big rise in the Avengers Defenders War Super Rare Iron Man, the one that I ran at my ROC. You can go back and watch the video for that if you want to see what was on that team. But he is very much like Jakeem Thunder, except he has Indom and defense, a reducer on his defense already. So he doesn't need a possessor, and he doesn't need Supreme Intelligence, both things that are going to retire once retirement happens in June. And then Jakeem's really not that fantastic without those two things. It's definitely at that point, it's Iron Man's job to lose. So we're going to go ahead, and now I'm going to talk about, what I would do for counter build, because WizKids Opens are coming up, and if you don't want to play Uni-mind and you don't want to play Jakeem Thunder, what's something that you could run where you have a chance against these two teams. So something that I came up with while I was just sort of sitting around reading what people had to write and watching some videos and whatnot on different people's opinions on how you'd take this figure out. I came up with this team. And so the secret to Uni-mind is you have to get around his defenses, and it's a little bit tricky because he has his defense, which is invincible, and then he can pick another defense if he wants to through a different Eternal. So then you have basically two different defenses to get through. Whatever defense he picks from the Eternal is immune to Pulse Wave. You can't outwit it, but then at that point you're like, well, I have to outwit Invincible, and I have to outwit whatever it was he picked. So you need two outwits. And you have to have hoped that he used his one perplex. Otherwise, Outwit's not going to do any good because he has Power Cosmic. So a good way to get around this is the Elseworld Green Arrow. And a lot of people obviously caught on to this because that was the call-in for pretty much everybody's Green Arrow ID, because he has a power where opposing figures just can't use defensive powers. So that's what I would suggest to take down a Uni-mind at the 150 point level, is a Green Arrow. And then after you do get him down, because he's not going to be able to stop on a stop click because of Green Arrow. So then after that, you need an immediate follow-up shot from somebody that can hit multiple targets. So for this team, I picked the Avengers Defenders War Chase Hawkeye. And in a perfect world, you're going to hit all three Eternals, and then you're going to get your your 165 points. And your opponent is going to have like a Nighthawk, which isn't going to win the game all by himself, and like one or two Retaliators, which again aren't going to win the game by themselves. And if you're lucky and you took out all three Eternals, then you still have Hawkeye, where you can take out maybe a Retaliator or two, maybe get a shot on Nighthawk. So there's stuff to do there. Then to deal with the stat buffs for Uni-mind, I picked the World's Finest 25-point Nightwing from the Fast Forces, where he has the Outsiders team ability. Just use Outsider ability to make it so Uni-mind can't modify his stats. So then those +2s are going to go away. Plus, he doesn't have to outwit anything to do that. It's just he does it. And I like that because it's not exactly like Nightwing, or I'm sorry, like Nighthawk, because it's not like on your turn and your opponent's turn. It's pretty much just when you decide to activate it. But he's 40 points less. So for 40 points less, I can have on my turn, which is the turn that I really need it, I can take away his stat buffs, and then I have 12 attack Green Arrow and a 11 attack Nighthawk. So I need a 6 and a 7 if they're unmodified to hit, which that should be right around the 50-50 on hitting. So I'm comfortable with that. Then on this particular team, and there's two different ways you can go with this team. I'm going to discuss more of a Killbox / TK Yo-Yo team, and then after that I'll tell you how I change it to make it something else. So I have the 50-point Fast Forces Jean Grey, and she is here just like I said. She can TK out Green Arrow, and then she can TK out Hawkeye to make an attack, or she can TK out one and then TK it back. So that's fantastic. And if she has no action tokens, she get one of those TKs is the one is a free action. So that's good. And then also on this team, I have Alpha 1, number 15 from the Wave 1 Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles set. And if you watched a video a long time, well, not a long time ago, but a while ago that I did, it's called a kill box team. And so what you do with him is you can TK him out with Jean Grey, give him a power action, and then he can place adjacent an opposing character. I think if they don't have the robot keyword, and I don't think uni-mind has the robot keyword, and Jakeem Thunder definitely doesn't have the robot keyword, and neither does Nighthawk Prime. And those are the three figures that I'm most worried about playing against. So you give him a power action, teleport him over, then you focus fire with Green Arrow and Hawkeye. And then you have Eric Masterson, where he has enhancement for +1 to damage, and you can give him a power action to use a perplex. And you can put that on attack or damage, wherever it is you feel like you need it. And then I also have a 5-point Spider-Man ID card. And the Spider-Man that I would use for this, it's not Cosmic Spider-Man. It's not Superior Spider-Man. It's the common Spider-Man from the Mighty Thor set, because he has Battle Fury, which ignores shape change. So, Nighthawk Prime, he can have a +3, +4, +1,000,000. I don't care. If I have Battle Fury, he doesn't have shape change at all. And this Spider-Man has Charge Flurry as a special, so you can charge in and potentially flurry Nighthawk Prime for 6, at which point you don't have to worry about Nighthawk Prime anymore. And it only costed you a 5-point call-in. So I really like this team and how it's built. That's 300 points on the nose. And you have Green Arrow with his range combat expert, where you can either do +2 to attack, +2 to damage, or 1-1. So you can get that 12 up to a 14. You can get it up to a 15 with Eric Masterson. At which point you're pretty much, you need a 3 to hit an 18. You should be able to do that, unless you're me, at which point you're going to roll a crit miss and it's not going to matter. So the other thing that I would do, if you don't want to run this as like a kill box team or a TK yo-yo, all I would do is I'd take out Alpha 1 and fill in with Rennet Tilly from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles Wave 2, and then I'd use the extra 5 points, since he's only 55 and not 60, on a second ID card, something that I could call in easily with her. I would consider actually using a Green Arrow ID card, and then like the 40-point JSA Green Arrow from Joker's Wild, just so that she can call him in, and then give +2 to the attack of Hawkeye and Green Arrow, and then the Green Arrow you called in doesn't take an action, and Rennet Tilly's your third action. So it's a little sneaky doing it that way, but I do like that. Plus she has that super probability, so now you have prob and perplex. She can carry the whole team, and that's just a really good team. I feel like either one of these would fit my play style. I feel like these would have a good this is definitely a good counter to uni-mind. This is going to take them out. And then you're like, well, okay, I need to take out Jakeem Thunder. So you need to deal him 8 clicks. You can do 6 clicks with Green Arrow. And then if you follow up with Hawkeye, that's going to be enough to take him out. And the nice thing about Jean Grey and having that free action TK is, you free action, you give, hypothetically, you need to move both Green Arrow and Hawkeye. So you free action TK with Jean, then you power action TK with Jean, that's your 1 action. Then you attack with Green Arrow, attack with Hawkeye, and that's your 3 actions. And at that point, Jakeem Thunder should be done. And I think with these, we'll count them as 2 separate teams that I gave you. I think with these teams that it's really going to end up being sort of a rock, paper, scissors match, which I find personally interesting. I don't think that there's, I think that if you see this happen, that it's not going to be, you're not going to see uni-mind errated. I think if you see something like this team show up and uni-mind, you at least see some of them go down, and it's not 6 out of the top 8 and everything are uni-mind, that he's not going to get errated. They're going to see that, okay, well, there's 1 or 2 Jakeems, there's 1 or 2 of this team I just talked about, there's 3 or 4 3 uni-minds and one crazy build that nobody saw coming. So that is what I would use to combat Jakeem Thunder. Or I'm sorry, not Jakeem Thunder is not a problem right this second. That's what I would use to combat uni-mind, is that team. So it's again, it's a Elseworld Chase Green Arrow, Avengers Defenders War Chase Hawkeye, World's Finest Fast Forces Nightwing at 25 points, Fast Forces Jean Grey, Alpha 1 from TMNT, Wave 1 Eric Masterson with a Spider-Man ID card utilizing the common Spider-Man from the Mighty Thor Heroclix set. Alright guys, and now that we're done with all that, I feel like it's an appropriate time to say that if you want to support the channel, go ahead and check out the links. There's a Amazon affiliate link in the description below, where you can click on the link, and literally anything you buy within 24 hours after that, a portion of that comes to me, just to support the channel. There's the unboxings aren't cheap. I would have to get 100,000 views to pay for a case unboxing, and I don't have anything with that. So any little bit you guys get to me helps. And then also my Patreon page is in the description below, where I have some really cool rewards, and I'm giving away a Super Nintendo Classic for my October giveaway to 1 Patreon patron. There will be a live random drawing on November 1st for that. And that's really it. Let's see here. We don't have any questions in the live chat. Let's see if we happen to... if anybody put anything up on Facebook or Twitter by mistake. Let me see here. Nothing on Facebook, and I don't think there's going to be anything. Nope, nothing on Twitter either. Alright guys, so this is fun. Let me know in the description if you got this far, or in the comments if you're watching this on the replay. What team would you play to counter a uni-mind that wouldn't be an auto loss to like a Jakeem Thunder or a Goblin King or something like that? Go ahead and put that in the comments below. Tell me what you think of the team I put together. And that's all I have for you guys today. As always, please remember that it's only critical miss if you don't have probability control.